I guess my first question would have to deal with mainly on your opinion of British theater, and do you think that British theater should deserve a lot more credit than it gets at the moment?
Well, yes. I mean, it's the perennial cry. I mean, British theatre is, in Britain, very successful in its own terms, and much loved. It depends on which government's in power. It's a bit like PBS stations over here. If you've got the Republicans in power, well, goodbye PBS stations. If you've got Democrats, well, you might be able to scrape a little money out of them to keep them going. And it's a similar kind of funding in Britain. Although, because we've had this long and wonderful tradition of theatre, where, they haven't killed it off, and they never will, really.
It's good to know. What's more difficult to do, a classical Greek tragedy or a Christmas panto?
Well, they're all, they're not they're difficult. If acting is difficult, then they're all difficult. But if it's not, they all require different but demanding skills. So pantomime, you give as much. In pantomime, you have to give energy. That's one of the high energy, because you've got to directly entertain the audience, and you cannot ever relax. You need many skills to do it as well. It's not an easy thing to do. So that's required. When you're doing tragedy or more concentrated theatre, the skills there are, deep concentration and also at the same time communication and being able to, tell the story through what you're doing. But both are, I don't differentiate between the great classics, and which I've been lucky to do, and the pantomimes, which I suppose for a lot of people over here, they think of pantomime as Marceau, but the kind of pantomime we're talking about is more low comedy at its best.
More along the lines of, oh, no, he isn't, oh, yes, he is.
Yeah, and all that.
Like that.
But there's a whole skill involved.
Do you think William Shakespeare, in your opinion, has possibly resurrected British film thanks to Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah, well, I suppose if William Shakespeare were alive now, he'd be working as a hack out here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's wonderful. I mean, that Kenneth Branagh that's helped to revive the British film industry a bit. I mean, it's going through a revival, gentle revival, against all the odds. Again, with a change of government and a bit of sensible tax, kind of adjustments, as they've done in Ireland, we would have a very, very good film industry. The problem is, because we're an English-speaking country, we've got to compete in a way with English-speaking countries that make films, and one of them is Hollywood.
Very much so.
So it needs help. I mean, I think most likely in Hollywood, help is given indirectly, directly through tax breaks to people over here. But in Britain, they don't do that at all. So we're not playing on not even on a kind of an equal field.
Speaking of production, in terms of what would be boiled down to as a shoestring budget,
level field. Sorry, I meant.
What are your feelings of continuing work with Bill Baggs and Nicholas Briggs, considering what you've done before with Arizona Solution and Zero Imperative, which we've seen here in the States, and I admit it's great pieces of drama. It really is.
Well, yes, no, I was very pleased. I mean, Sophie was the one who advised me to go and work with them, because she'd worked with them before, and I was very pleased to have done that. I mean, originally, the first one I did more because it meant working with John Pertwee, Colin, and Peter Davison, and I just wanted to have at least worked with a few of the other Doctors, because it seemed part of the tradition of Doctor Who, and I wanted to experience all the traditions. So that's why that was the main reason why I did that. And then I enjoyed it. And then the second time, to get the chance to play a villain, and such an interesting villain as well, because he starts off not as a villain, but slowly develops. So that was great. So just purely selfish terms, the parts were really nice that I was given, and I felt it was showing other facets of my acting personality.
Speaking of traditions and the previous Doctors, tell me about Paul McGann.
Well, Paul McGann has been a friend I've known for quite a few years. He's a marvelous actor. What he will bring to it is a sense of danger. He has a wonderful sense of danger. He as a film actor, he's a bit like Laurence Olivier when Laurence Olivier was a stage actor, in the sense that when you went to see Olivier, you were never quite sure what he was going to do. I mean, there was a feeling of excitement that he might just explode in front of you into something amazing. And that's what was one of the great attractions of Olivier. And Paul McGann's got that. You know, he's got that feeling that you think, gosh, any minute now something dreadful might happen, or something amazing might happen. And that's what's good. You know, there's a tension under there. It's great. And also, he's very good at the comedy side as well. He can jump back and forth. So he's got, I mean, I think he'll be a very good actor to play Doctor Who. Because of those, you know, facets, he's got lots of bits of him that he can play around with.
I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, actually a new Doctor. And I'm sure you're probably, I don't know how your feelings were, but I'm sure that you, along with other folks, probably felt the same way. How does it feel to pass the baton after the Doctor's been around, after your Doctor's been around 3 times more than the TV adventures, and, if I may add, longer than Tom Baker's?
Well, I mean, I'm absolutely delighted and happy to be involved in this transformation, because, you know, it finished for me about 6 years ago, and I carried on, you know, I've carried on doing whatever I've been doing for the rest of the time, having a merry time, and so in a sense I'd given up the Doctor in a way. I mean, I enjoyed, you know, the conventions, enjoyed the work, you know, the other side of the Doctor Who world, but, or should I say universe, but so when the phone call came, I was delighted to think that it was being revived, because I've got to know lots of fans, and I know that that's what they want, and I thought, oh, great. And I also know, in my own selfish reason, that people become more interested again in what I'd done before, and the various other Doctors, so I think it's a very good thing. So I, with delight and great pride and happiness, pass on the baton to an actor who I think will be marvellous. I think I'm also blessed because of the nature of the way, you know, the history of what my finishing Doctor Who, that the other actors gave up with sadness, I think, apart from Peter Davidson, you know, the baton, whereas I've been blessed to give it up this way and in an exotic location, so that's great.
Couple more questions to go. You and Sophie did work after Doctor Who with the Jack the Ripper piece, which I understand is out on audio cassette. Was that more of a tweak at the character?
Sorry, I don't know what you mean by Jack the Ripper.
Okay, all right. I got my communications lines crossed again. The British publications say that you and Sophie Aldred did a radio play, or at least a cassette play. That was a dramatization.
Oh, we did some sort of cassette, yes, that never finished as far as I knew. I don't know what's happened to that. Has it been published? Has anyone heard it?
Okay. What we tend to hear out here is just statements that are at least about 3 months old, so scratch...
Well, I don't... I mean, I did a few years ago. We were starting off doing a video cassette series of some sort, and but it fell out. We did 2 in one day, and then we were going to do some more, but then nothing ever happened. Okay. And I can't remember what we did.
Well, as long as you got a paycheck.
I don't know. I think, well, that didn't even work out, I don't think. I don't know. Anyway, I've forgotten about it.
Okay.
I can't answer that question because I can't remember.
No problem here. Did you feel, in your opinion, though, going back to Who, that Search Out Science, the project you did with that with Sophie, and Dimensions in Time was more or less the BBC saying that, well, we don't want to bring back Doctor Who, but we'll bring the Doctor out when we feel it's convenient for us, and therefore, did you think it was leading the fans on until 6 months ago?
No, not really, no. I mean, the thing was that, you know, the BBC is a vast organisation, and within it there were people trying to keep it alive. And I think what they were doing was just in their own little way, you know, keeping it going. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't any kind of Machiavellian plan by the people at the top. I mean, I think I'm a great believer in the cock-up theory. I think it was just, you know, the reason why Doctor Who finished was it was a complete cock-up mismanagement. And so those things that you mentioned, they weren't in any way, in any devious way. They just happened. Someone just thought, oh, it'd be good if we had a Doctor Who doing this science program, or it'd be good if we had a Doctor Who doing this. And I think they hoped that with the one we did for the children in need, that might revive an interest in it, you know, within the BBC, but it didn't.